All right, welcome back to Kingdom Cast. This is your host, Bad Love Chuck. And over to my right, my guy Boogie in the top right. And over in the bottom right-hand corner, we got Country. And then we got our special guest to the very bottom left. He currently is our sports anchor and reporter for Fox Sports News. I'd like to welcome Harold Kuntz to this week's podcast. Harold, how you doing this evening?
What's going on, guys? Good to see you all.
So good to
Good
see
to
you
see
too,
you
man.
too, man.
It's crazy. We were supposed to have done like an interview a long time ago. I don't know what happened with that.
Yeah,
I
never
apologize
happened.
for that.
Yeah,
still,
you never got back to me. It's all right though. It's all right.
Right. That's kind of my fault on that.
I'm not offended.
Chuck big, man.
Yeah, but at least we on the podcast this time. So
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Let's get it in.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna get you guys ready this week for Chiefs and Browns divisional round. The Browns, they come in as one of the surprises in the NFL this season. One of the hottest teams in the league. And then you got the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, number one seed overall in the AFC, holding it down. The big news of the week regarding this game, like the big headline, everyone knows that Kareem Hunt was clowning in the locker room, clowning Juju Smith-Schuster, doing the TikTok dance and stuff. And then he said he was going to take this week personal. Now, what do you guys think about that overall? What are you guys' opinion about him taking it personal this week?
Man, what he gonna take personal? It really. I mean, I love Kareem. I still love Kareem. There's a lot of people that still love Kareem, and he's a hell of a running back. He did work when he was here, but his situation was not a product of the Chiefs. It was him. The main thing, he should have just been honest about what happened, completely honest, and not just when the video hit, now you crying and you explaining. It's like too late now, bro. Like, we can't even defend you on this. They let him get away with a whole bunch more. Please believe. I know Harold probably know or heard rumors. They let him get away with a whole lot more behind the scenes. So when the video came out, it was just like, bro, there's nothing we can do. You told us you didn't do that, and you clearly did it on camera, bro. Even though the situation was crazy anyway, that's a whole nother story. But he should have been honest from the get-go, man. And they would have been able to get out in front of him more. They would have been able to protect him more, and he probably would still be here, in my opinion.
I think you're right. It's more of a matter of, again, you can't lie to your boss about something that important. And then two, your boss can't be the head coach. I mean, like as much as they like you, they're going to, they have to move on. I mean, and he has to understand he's a running back, and a running back in today's NFL, they're going to find somebody eventually. I mean, they found Damian Williams for what would have amounted to something cheaper than what you would have even had, going for you. Now they found Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they get Le'Veon Bell to come in on you. They got LaShawn McCoy coming in on a veterans minimum. I mean, they're going to find guys that are running backs. And as much as they want to keep them, they know that, look, integrity matters most. And we all saw the video, and we all know what was going on down. And look, it's hard when you're a rookie, when you're entering the league, that, sometimes success gets to you. People want more out of you. I mean, the old saying is you get that contract, half of it's gone immediately because of people and other agencies, parents, kids, whatever. And it's always gone. But they knew that, you can't blow the situation. I mean, I'm glad these guys' life on track. I mean, he's clearly got his life on track. For him to say it's personal, I mean, I think he's right. It is personal to him, because it's a personal matter that he dealt with, and that is a personal matter that he's overcome. Now, granted, a lot of people want to get back at the team they used to play for. That's just part of the nature of the NFL. If I was playing for the Packers and I wanted to get back at the Broncos, that's part of it. But it was a personal matter that he dealt with, he got over with, and there's a lot, that goes into it. He had some problems. I mean, he's getting pulled over on the side of the road, weed, what have you. I mean, look, say what you want about weed being legal in the NFL. I honestly think it should be, but that's besides the point. If it's against the law, it's against the law. Rules have consequences.
Well, you just got Boogie's interest up.
Yes, sir.
No, I mean, but yeah, rules are rules. When you're a professional, rules are rules. That's just how it goes. I mean, there's some rules we don't like, but you got to follow them, and that's just the route you have to go.
Yeah, I think.
Right.
I think it had to be personal though. We know it was personal, but I mean, he still got to say that though. That's just the competitor in him. He got to say that. So I mean, that's what he got to say. We'll be cool though. It's personal when he get pulled over and he say he should be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's personal, but
tearfully at that. Like he was just like emotionally wrecked. So
shit, we
I
miss him.
felt bad. I felt bad for Kareem in this situation. Like, yes, you should be with us, bro. Like, you should have been with us. And I know that's probably hard to look at and hard to understand, but yeah, bro, like you did it though.
Yep. And Aaron, thanks for tuning in, my man. Aaron, he's
What's up, Aaron?
41 sports anchor there. So, but yeah, man, I agree with everything you guys are saying. Kareem, I understand. He's taking it personal from a standpoint where like he feels like he still should be with the organization, but at the same time, man, you kind of got to own up to your mistakes too. Now, like you guys said, if he had just been up front and been truthful, like it would just been like a few game suspension, like maybe suspended for the rest of the season and then come back in time for the playoffs. And he might still be here. So I mean,
ask Tyreek Hill, who was completely upfront and honest and about his situation from the gate, and he's still here. And they protected him. They put the shield in front of him, bro. Like you got to be honest from the gate. No matter what you do. I know another player who I will not name. He got into a situation. I told him, bro, look. Call the team, tell them exactly what happened. You got to tell them exactly what happened because if somebody released some footage and it's different, you're in trouble. There's nothing we can do about that. But if I already knew it was coming, I can protect you, I can shield you, I can help you. But Kareem didn't do that. And that wasn't the only incident. Like Kareem punched the dude in Ohio after that. Wasn't that after that? He punched the dude at the resort?
Yeah. That was afterwards.
Yeah.
He punched the dude at the resort. Like Kareem was wilding that whole summer, bro. Like for real, he was getting to the fight at the club in Westport or wherever he was. But man, I feel bad for Kareem. But if it's personal to you. It's not personal to us. It's just business.
Right. At the end of the day, it's just business per usual. Like I really don't have an issue with what he said in the locker room after the game, whatever. It's just that we know that he was just a young cat. You know what I mean? And right now, it seems like he's learned from his mistakes so far. He's had a pretty decent year in Cleveland this year. And, just happy that he's still getting an opportunity to, redeem himself. And he's done it pretty well so far.
Yeah. I mean, that's all that matters. I mean, when you're in a good situation, a team that's organized, like the Browns seem to finally found some organization, then it's a good thing. You got a guy like Nick Chubb, a young guy too. You guys can kind of, kind of fill each other out, and be, don't necessarily be friends off the field, but you can definitely be, friends on the field, and you stay focused to football. I think even Travis Kelce said it today that he didn't stay in contact as much with him as he liked to, but he does know that he's happy that he's in a good place, and he misses him, and he thinks that he's proud as hell of him, and he should be, because you want to see people get it together, especially ones that are as talented as he is. I mean, if he's talented and he's got a great career ahead of him, you want to see him express those talents on the field, and I'm glad he's able to do that.
Just not this week.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, was this the best case scenario for the Chiefs to get the Browns?
I believe it is. Like at the end of the day, the AFC was going to be tough regardless. Cleveland, I'm definitely not taking them lightly. Even though they a little inexperienced, but they got the formula. They kind of have the formula to beat the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs, I think they're gonna be stacking the box for sure and looking to slow down Kareem and Nick Chubb and make Baker throw the ball. So I think the Chiefs are going to do a decent job of that, and Baker's going to have to throw the rock. And I think they can create some turnovers off of Baker. Now, if Baker plays well, then we could be in for a dogfight. But in a high-scoring game, I don't think the Browns can hang with the Chiefs like that.
I think there's a lot of pressure on. Has Baker ever had this type of pressure, this type of stage, this type of spotlight on him, and how does he perform? Baker showed out a little bit this year. I ain't gonna even lie. Like, he had a good year overall, and he stepped up to the mic a couple of times. But this is the playoffs. Like, it's different. It's a whole different season. It's a whole different speed. It's a whole different game. Is he gonna be able to rise to that occasion? Because Pat gonna rise. He been waiting on this all year. So I just want to see how Baker's gonna perform, because it's probably gonna come down to him.
Baker Mayfield's been in a few. I think the two biggest games he's ever been in was the Rose Bowl game when they played Georgia back in college, and then the last week against Pittsburgh. Those have been the two biggest stages he's been on. Outside of, I think, the Monday night game where we all thought he was a wreck when San Francisco beat him up. Now, we didn't think he was a wreck. It just turned out San Francisco's defense was just really, really good. We just didn't know it because it was like a Week 4 game last season. But, yeah, I mean, look, stages are stages. Obviously, you're looking at a situation where Patrick Mahomes has the most postseason experience of anybody left in the AFC, which is crazy to believe, but it's true. And he's 4-1 in these games. He's been here before. He has a supporting cast who's been here before. And the biggest fear for the Browns right now is that they just got off a win that feels like they won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. They had their fans greeting them at the airport at 3 a.m. They had, they're still talking about that game, and it's Wednesday, and they're still talking about that. They've got to move. They got to move past that immediately, because and I know they know the challenge in front of them with the Chiefs, but they have to move past that. And it's how they handle that situation. That really is a judge of their maturity. That's the judge of their head coach, who hasn't been involved in much of this. I mean, their head coach used to be an intern under Andy Reid. Andy Reid, remember watching him playing college football in Philadelphia. I mean, it's like everything screams like, okay, are they ready for the moment? And you don't know that because they just are. They're going to say the right things, but you don't know right here if they're ready for the moment. And if they're not ready here, then it's going to be a long day for them.
Yeah, it's all about mental, basically. And
you know what they did that I didn't like, though? You know what they did? They did a lot of dancing and celebrating after they beat Pittsburgh. It's got to be a business trip, man. This can't be, like Harold said, this can't be your Super Bowl. Like, not in the playoffs, because there's another game next week. So you can't put it all out on the field against. I think they focused so much on beating Pittsburgh that it's going to cost them versus Kansas City. What is that noise?
And think about this with Baker Mayfield. Like, he's always been a guy, even from college, that's always said to himself, like, I'm using any type of, reading or any type of article, any type of TV broadcast, whatever, to give myself motivation. That's always how he's been. He's been like that since, I covered him a little bit when I was in Oklahoma. He's always been that way. And, even if it's like something like Sammy Watkins saying something as simple as, I don't know about competition. And it's like, they just use any type of, you're going to follow your quarterback. That's just how it works. You're going to fit the personality of your quarterback. They use anything as motivation. So they're going to come in plenty motivated. It's here if they come into Arrowhead knowing full well that they understand the situation they're in. Like, it's like, oh, it hits you that you're 2 wins away from the Super Bowl. It's like, oh, yeah, that's a different feeling. Especially when you're playing a team who's been there, done that, who knows what it takes, who's coming off of rest, much needed rest, time to prepare. I mean, Patrick Mahomes saying today that he's had notebooks on 4 teams, and when the Browns were ready, he already had a full notebook, and he'd already watched plenty of film and had hours of film, and he's already knows what to do. And it's like, that's what you're facing. I mean, that's professional level. We've been here before, know what we're doing type of preparation. And can they handle that? And we don't know. because they don't have any. The's no background for it.
Right. And yeah, like you said, Patrick Mahomes is already 2 steps ahead of the game. So
Yeah.
that's how you know it's gonna be kind of tough for the Browns this week.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
To answer the question, he's a competitive player. Remember?
Yeah. Eric Bieniemy's best words.
Can we sidebar with Eric Bieniemy for just a little bit? What's going on, man? What is it about Eric Bieniemy that is not like nobody has an answer?
All right, here's the deal, man. At the end of the day, it's politics, man. They don't want that man to get a head coaching job, man. I feel like they don't want too many brothers getting a head coaching job because I seen a report today talking about people was concerned about Andy Reid's coaching tree, in which that was never been the case before when all his other coaches got hired in the past. So they just putting a label on Bieniemy, man. They don't want that man to get a head coaching job. That's just my opinion.
How
you know what? That's dumb.
Everybody
in the playoffs is in the tree.
Yeah.
Right.
But Belichick,
right.
and then keep getting people.
They want to say, well, one was special teams, well, one was defense. I'm like, he still hired them.
Right.
They still watch the day-to-day. They still watch the
Just a quick sidebar. It's just so confusing. It's just so confusing. It's just like ridiculous. Like at this point, it's like, man, it's I'm speechless about it. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Now, who knows? I mean, things can work in the media where people will leak things out to certain people to kind of put the kind of public pressure on someone to pick somebody. That report could have been out there to be like, well, from what I'm hearing, it's not going to happen. And then, a fan base might come up and basically make their voices known that like, hey, what are you guys doing? Pick this guy. And, like for me, you got a guy with a Super Bowl ring. You got a guy who's played the game at a high level in college, played a little bit in the NFL. He relates with players. He's he's an all-around good person. He's been around. He's been in the league. He's learned under one of the best. It's like, what are you waiting for here? And I mean, I would still kind of look out for the Chargers because they're the team that's been kind of quiet in all this. But because the Lions seem to like they want to make a move. The Jets, the Jaguars obviously want to make a move with Urban. Robert Saleh has been pretty popular. He's kind of on the plane everywhere. And I do understand the whole you can't talk to him now until the season's over. That could be, for the Chiefs, February, after the first week of February. That could totally be a situation where they just want to pick a guy beforehand. But if you want quality, you'll wait for quality. And I think some other teams are just being impatient. And that's the reason why some teams are looking at head coaches yet again, like the Jets. Or that's why you see a team that seems to be an organizational nightmare like Houston. Or a team that, in LA that's just kind of quiet and goes about its business. But their ownership's kind of quiet because it's LA. Their owner's quiet because he got a new stadium. He doesn't really care right now. So and then you look at the Lions, they've had dysfunction and, the Detroit Lions have had, Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders, and Matthew Stafford, and have done nothing with it. I know they're all three different times. Like one was the 90s, one was the 2000s, one was the 2010s, but they still had guys who were great at their positions and just could never build around any of it. And it shows. That's why they're at the block looking again.
Do you think he would take a job like the Jets waiting this long?
Depends upon what the Jets have. I mean, look what the cupboard's not bare. I mean, I feel like if you get those guys a little bit motivated, kind of like what they were at the end of the season, where they did beat the Browns. They did look motivated at the end. They won 2 out of their last 3. Darnold is fixable, I think, and there's still some talent there in Darnold. He was a high draft pick for a reason, and they got some decent pieces there. I mean, they did have Jamal Adams pointed out probably because the organization was terrible. So they have pieces, and they just need a good focused operation, something that he can provide, something that he knows the blueprint for, and they just need to make it work. And so I mean, I could see him doing the New York Jets deal. The only deal with me is, does he want it? I mean, nobody's ever asked, what does he want? And, if he's like, he's been, because when you interview, we always think when you go to an interview, it's like, oh, okay, wow, what can you guys do for me? What can you guys do for me? Or what can I do for you? What can I do for you? What can we do? When in reality, sometimes it's what can you do for me? And if you're not hearing anything that you can do for me, then you move on. So
I think he really wanted that Cincinnati job. When was that, last year? That Cincinnati was open and they took who
Burrow.
they take?
Burrow.
Yeah, I think he really wanted that job. I think that would have been a great job for him and to get Joe Burrow. So how do you take the Houston Texans offer of we'll interview you now after we played you for the first week and a half? Was that disrespect or was that okay? We trying to save our quarterback? That's another weird situation.
No, that's called the general manager just got hired. Who said, "What is this organization doing? Trying to even think of Deshaun Watson asking for a trade? We should keep him. He's the number one thrower he's the number one passer in the league this year. You don't give that away. You build around that. You work with that. You listen to what he says." And I think the general manager, once he probably put his butt in the seat of his office, probably realized, oh my gosh, what are these guys doing? No, call them up immediately. I don't care. So I think that's what that was. I genuinely think that what it was from a business position is just when the GM got there. But before he got there, they're going to go business as usual. And their business as usual, as you can see, is not very good. I mean, you got J.J. Watt apologizing to Deshaun for wasting a year after the end of the season, caught on video, basically. It's you hate to see teams like that have talent. I mean, look, we're sitting here last year watching the Houston Texans up 24-0 on the Chiefs. Like, they had talent. They had a team. And then they give up 51 straight, and then all of a sudden it's just been downhill since for them. And, sometimes playoff losses are hard to recover from. But this isn't hard to. This is just the organization that's just an ownership group, really, that just is.
Yeah, they went from a desirable location to, man, why would you go there? Like, they went from a top 3 job that I would pick if I was a head coach. Like, man, I can get Deshaun Watson. I know Bill O'Brien kind of traded away all my draft capital, but I can make that work. And now you look at them like, I would never go there. Like, they suck.
That was the owner. The owner did all that to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bottom line is this, man. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Harold.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, bottom line is this. The Houston Texans come out saying they want to do an interview now. It's just damage control, because if they really wanted to come and interview, if they really wanted to interview him, they would have got it set up and done already before the deadline of the playoffs and everything. Because like for them, it's just a complete disconnect overall in the organization between them and they star players. Like Deshaun Watson, he's your face of the franchise, and for you guys just to ignore him this long, and now all of a sudden all this bad press is getting out. Now you guys want to say you want to bring him in. I mean, I'm not buying it. I didn't think they wanted to interview in the first place.
And they got Andre Johnson speaking out on it. That was bad.
Andre knows. Andre knows how the organization is. He wouldn't lie about that.
Yeah, it's totally on ownership group, and that's the key for any of this. You have to have a good ownership group. Trust me, if Andy Reid didn't like the Hunt family, there would be a big disconnect, and things wouldn't get done the way they should be done, and you wouldn't be looking at a team who's a 1 seed in the AFC. Like that's just how it goes. You have to have your president, management listening to the general manager, that listening to the head coach, and the head coach needs to listen to the general manager and the quarterback. And if that's not working, all 4 of those parts are not working, you do not have an elite team. Period.
Do you like how Clark Hunt basically lets his football guys make football decisions? Like, he doesn't really jump in the middle of contracts and go get this guy. I like this, like a la Jerry Jones or somebody like that.
Oh yeah, Jerry Jones, I think, is the absolute opposite of how you should handle anything. Personally, look, Clark Hunt and his group, Mark Donovan, all those people, they got guys they trust. They trust their football acumen, and you just let them football. If you like, it's like, look, I'll just sit back and like, you let them football, and if you're confident in them, it works. And it takes time too. Like a lot of people think to themselves, well, I want to coach, and with 2-3 years, I want instant results. Like, no, that's not how this works. I mean, Andy Reid's been through trials and tribulations. He went to 4 straight NFC Championship games, and only went to the Super Bowl once, or 5, and only went once. And if Donovan McNabb threw to Terrell Owens maybe 10 more times, they might have actually won that game. And then it's, and then he comes to Kansas City and he deals with, trying to find a quarterback. They finally find Alex Smith. That doesn't work. And then they finally find Patrick Mahomes. And they finally find the right fit. Sometimes it just takes time. And a lot of people don't have patience in professional football. And I get it because, there's billions at stake. And you want to make something for the fans happen. You want to make something for your business happen. But at the same time, it just takes patience. And I think they showed the right amount of patience with them. Now, there's nothing ever that said to them, okay, we need to clean house. There's never been that situation under Andy Reid, except for the beginning. And now they've gone to a point where they're like, okay, we got a good ship in order, enough ship to win a Super Bowl, and it's working.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And by the way, Country, you're the one that's crack-a-lacking a little bit, my guy. But yeah, that's on you, man. But yeah, hop back.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
But anyway, yeah, man, definitely agree with everything you said, Harold, on that, man. Let's segue to the injury news and everything. We seen that Rashawn Fenton, Willie Gay, and Sammy Watkins, they didn't practice today. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's back and limited. Deion Yelder was limited. But the big question somebody in the chat want to know is, what's the word on Schwartz? Like, is he still out? Is he going to come back for the playoffs at all? What's the news on that?
Well, Andy Reid said it in a way that makes me believe that he's probably not going to be with the team for the rest of the year. Now, of course, that's just speculating. But he says he basically said backs are fickle. And when you have the head coach saying, backs are fickle, it's like a situation where they're like, ooh, he could get out there, but we're not sure if he can get out there. So he's obviously out this week. And next week they'll look at it, they'll see what's happening, but they've been very kind of hush-hush about the whole situation. But when you say backs are fickle, like when you use that verbiage, that's not good. You don't want to have a fickle back. And then you go out there with uncertainty. And the last thing you want to be going out there is he's uncertain about his back. He gets out there at his key position of left tackle, and then next thing you know, somebody has a free shot at Mahomes. So, no, it's not looking good. I mean, he's on IR now, for goodness sakes. I mean, it's not looking good. And I who knows? I mean, if they make it to the Super Bowl, then you got essentially 3 weeks from now, 3 whole weeks from now to the Super Bowl, and maybe something magically gets better. But then you're throwing him in there in the highest intense game of the year, and he hasn't played since week 7 or 8. Now, granted, he's a veteran; he can pull it off. But I think you just work with the guys you have, and kind of go from there. That's why you bring in a Steven Wisniewski. That's why they got Mike Rimmers at the beginning of the season. Guys that are flexible, guys that are swing tackles. That's why you got a Daniel Kilgore there that can kind of come in if Austin Ryder, for some reason or another, something happens to him. I mean, people always overlook the offensive line, but those are key guys. I mean, they're hurt. That's why they're usually the highest paid guys. I mean, there's a reason why. And yeah, it's just not looking good. Again, when you say the back is fickle, and day to day, obviously everybody's gonna think of Eric Berry, but and when you say back is fickle, man, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Because remember, like a few weeks ago when the Chiefs played the Saints, I mean, Eric Fisher, he was going through a back injury, and he went out there and toughed it out. And you see, he was kind of rough time blocking Hendrickson on the end because he couldn't really move like how he wanted to.
Yeah.
So backs are definitely fickle for offensive linemen.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame too because he's an Iron Man guy. He's tough. He wants to be out there. He wants to be out there, but if the trainers are like, man, one hit here or one hit here, then you're like, forget playing next week. You won't be playing for a couple years. Like, you might as well just shut it down. Like, you don't want that to happen. So, you know, another thing too is, you know, like, he's been voted an all-pro a couple times, but never really a Pro Bowler guy. I mean, but he's been Mr. Steady Eddie, and he just, for some reason, you know, you don't deal with back spasms, man. I mean, like, I mean, personally, I've had a dad who dealt with back spasms, and, you know, he worked in, you know, the bus company, and, you know, he'd come home with like 2 back braces, you know, picking up all these bus parts, and, you know, he's trying to fix a bus, and it was rough for him. I mean, he could barely sit down, and he's not a professional football player where you're doing contact over and over and over, you know, 60, 70, 80 plays. I mean, it's a labor of love to play football, and that, you know, you don't want to be out there with a fickle back.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And with that being said, like, you know, if Mitchell Schwartz doesn't come back at all during this postseason run, I mean, is this like the end? I mean, is this the last year for him? Possibly.
You hope not. I mean, contract situation aside, you just hope not, because he still has, I think, plenty left in the tank. And, you know, you got, I mean, the offensive line could be different next year, because, I mean, think about LDT might come back, you know, after he wants to come back. He said he's wanted to come back. So, yeah, you just don't want it to be in a situation where you got to trust the trainers on that one. That's just contract issues aside. Now, of course, if they see they can't get anything out of him, then they're probably going to have to make a deal. And, you know, also you get Lucas Niang back. You know, people forget about him.
Right.
So, I mean, he's kind of the understudy for somebody on that line, whether it was Fisher or Schwartz. So you have some tools you can use with, you can run with. It's just a matter of, you know, do you have to use them next year immediately, or can you see how Schwartz feels? And right now, I mean, it's not good. I mean, but, you know, you have the guys that you have. You know, you got the Allegrettis and the Wisniewskis and the Riders and the Fishers and the world, and you just kind of got to know Andrew Wiley's of the world. You got to go out there and you just got to do what you can.
Yeah.
So how much do you think this hurt Niang opting out this year? Like, I understand why, and he had to do what he had to do, but how much does it hurt his career that he lost all these valuable snaps he could have got this year?
Well, I mean, you know, they gave you the option to opt out beforehand. He knew what he was getting into. And essentially, the way the Chiefs probably think about it is they'll probably draft another offensive lineman. You just do because, you know, at later rounds, you just find some guys you can try to teach. And I think what it matters, if he stayed in shape, you know, this whole time, then he's just a rookie. And he's just going out there and he's a rookie. He lost a year essentially to be out there, and he's a rookie. So hopefully he comes in, he's 100% healthy. He's got no problems with him. And he just goes out there and he plays hard. So I don't think it's a real risk. If anything, the Chiefs probably see it as a benefit that they've gotten through this season and can basically say, all right, well, we don't have to worry about a lineman in the draft too much because we got a lineman. He's on the books. He'll just be back in this, hopefully, for summer camp.
Yep. Oh man. Okay, so I mean, speaking of offensive lineman, man, I was looking at that boy from Alabama the other night when I was watching the national championship game, Deontay Brown. I mean, I don't know how high he's gonna go in the draft, but he's definitely somebody we can use for the future for sure. Because I seen that he never gave up a sack in his entire college career, I believe, at Alabama, and he's a pretty big boy.
Oh my gosh, he's humongous. Those pictures you see of him, you're like, whoa, that's a big fella. You know, it's actually amazing to me. Outside of Dieter, like, there's nobody from Alabama on the team. And, you know, obviously they have some LSU guys, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Tyrann Mathieu, what have you. It kind of takes you for a back for a bit. You're like, wow, there's nobody from Alabama on the team. Like, no, it's kind of how it's weird how it's worked out. Maybe it's about time to get one from Alabama. Who knows?
Right.
Who's the last guy we had? Was Ragland and Nico?
Yeah,
who else we had from Alabama? Dieter?
Yeah. Dieter's, you know, practice squad now, so yeah.
Yeah, Dieter, you just never know when you're gonna be on the 53-man roster. I mean, it's just a spur of a moment type of deal with him.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of Clyde, man, you mentioned Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You know, he's limited. He was limited in practice today. I know everybody's been harping on the Chiefs running game as far as moving forward, heading into the playoffs. Like, it wasn't really as consistent like how it should have been or could have been this year. Do you see the Chiefs running game stepping up another level heading into the postseason?
Well, if you look back at last postseason, Damian Williams kind of took over in the second half of many of those games, and well, really all three of them. And when you look at this season, they totally have the talent to do that. I think Clyde could do that. But look, I mean, I saw the pictures from practice today. You know, one of our photographers was getting video, and then I saw that, you know, Clyde's both of his ankles were taped up pretty heavy. So, I mean, now he worked out well, did what he could, but I mean, I would imagine that between him and Le'Veon are going to be doing a lot of the snaps, and even Le'Veon gets a few more. And again, Le'Veon's, you know, he's a two-time All-Pro player. He can get out there and do some stuff. He can do some damage. It's just a matter of when he gets the ball and when he gets the opportunity, you know, does he do what he can with it? I mean, I totally think of him as a guy that, you know, in the second half he can kind of wear down the team. And it's up to him now. I mean, he has that opportunity. This is why they brought him in. You know,
Yeah,
this is
you're absolutely
exactly
right.
why I was in, yeah.
Yeah, because like with Le'Veon, I said this, like, if he does get back to being close to where he was in Pittsburgh, which I don't know if he's ever going to get that level again, but I said he could be a key component to his offense. Like, he could be what Ricky Watters was with the 49ers and make an impact that way as far as the running game and catching passes out the backfield. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I love a Ricky Watters reference. I know that much. That's great. I love a Ricky Watters reference. But no, it's you know, I thought that maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be more involved in the passing game, you know, going forward in this, and we haven't seen that all the way that we thought we would. Obviously, injury aside, but heck, I mean, there's been a few games where you still see Mahomes as the lead rusher. I mean, that's just how it's worked out sometimes. But again, when it's postseason, I kind of tend to throw that out the door because, like, at this point, you're just doing whatever it takes to win. You know, that's the reason why Roethlisberger had over 500 yards passing against Cleveland, because they just never ran the ball. Now, granted, they didn't run the ball all year in Pittsburgh, but that's just what you do at a certain element of time. You got to go past the football. But I'm just curious to see how Reed schemes it up, you know, with Clyde in the passing game, maybe Le'Veon in the passing game too. They've tried it a little bit before, but, you know, it's just slowly learning that offense. And I feel like he's comfortable under it now. They should let it go. And again, they've had by the time the game starts, they would have had 20 days to prepare. So you feel like there's definitely some plays back there that they're comfortable with. I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes even alluded to on Monday some of the reporting from some of the beat writers there that, you know, they've got some plays that they've kind of installed. So that might be it. That might be some of the running guys getting involved in the passing game more. And we'll see what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, because
so we can finally kill they're saving it for the playoffs talk this week. Huh?
To kill what?
They're saving it for the playoffs. They're just playing vanilla this week.
Well, I mean, you always want to save some bullets for the playoffs. That's for sure. You know, unless you're in a situation where you gotta throw it all in the door. But no, I mean, they, you know, when they secured the playoff spot, you know, which again, they're fortunate enough to have secured it well before the season got to the real nitty gritty. For a lot of teams, like Cleveland had to throw everything at the door because, you know, for the last few weeks, it's been win or go home for them. But, you know, it's, you know, like you keep some plays. I mean, like Andy's always called them Pat plays, and he loves designing plays. And Eric Bieniemy loves designing plays. So, and Patrick Mahomes loves designing plays. I mean, we've seen it. Like, we've seen Sammy Watkins try to throw a pass to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they love designing plays. It's just a matter of now, hey, make it happen in the playoffs.
Right, because I think they were saving some plays for the playoffs, personally. Because, like you said, once they locked up that playoff spot, it's like, okay, we know we can win the division eventually. I mean, we know we can play like at least our B game and like clinch the #1 seed. So I think they are preserving some things, and I think those plays definitely get unleashed this week because even though the Browns do have Denzel Ward back this week, like Denzel Ward, he's one of the best corners in the league and everything, but it's levels to covering Juju Smith-Schuster to covering Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's just like Tyreek's like 2 tiers above Juju Smith-Schuster. Like it's a problem guarding him. So I think the Chiefs gonna dial up some things for Tyreek and of course Travis and Tyreek. I think Tyreek gonna have a monster game in my opinion. The way the Chiefs gonna dial it up.
Well, I mean, the biggest key, like any of these games, is Travis Kelce. Tyreek's going to get his, but I think Travis Kelce is going to get his too. I mean, you've got a team that had a hard time covering Juju Smith-Schuster. He had over 100 yards receiving in that game. He had 13 catches, I believe. And, he's one of the top receivers in the league. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, Cleveland definitely showed the ability to get him yards. And you say Denzel Ward's back, but he just got back now because of, he's off the COVID list. So,
right.
It's hard to just jump in. You don't want your first player to be Tyreek Hill having to guard. That's tough. That's a tough ask.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got linebackers out there that are probably be out overmatched trying to guard Travis Kelce. I mean, at least it appears that way. So, and then don't forget about some of the other guys. Now we don't know the health of Sammy Watkins, but he's still dealing with his injuries. But again, what about a DeMarcus Robinson who proved he can come up in the clutch? He caught that pass in the Falcons game. What about some of these? What about Byron Pringle? He's really shown that he has a capability of, being proved out there, being a proven commodity out there. And again, pat plays. What are these pat plays that they're using? So it's just when you have a plethora of weapons to choose from, it's really more of a matter of how does your engineer kind of conduct the symphony in Patrick Mahomes?
Yep. And I think I'm going to make a bold prediction right now for Pat plays. I think if there is going to be a Pat play in this game, I think it's going to involve Mecole Hardman. So I expect Mecole to have a big play in this game at some point. So.
Yeah. I mean, McColl's mentioned it too. I think he even graded himself. He was like I think he said his words. It was like a B plus in terms of what he thought his performance was this year. So, he's got a gear he can get up to too. I mean, he just admitted this. This isn't my grade of him. This is his grade of him. And he admitted to it. And he should have an opportunity as well. I mean, look, Tyreek's got 4.2 speed, but Cole's got 4.3 speed too. And, look, he can run around and get that ball, but you got to get him in a good position too. And it's just all about trust. Like, who does the coaching staff trust out there? Who's shown the coaching staff that you can trust them in key situations? And, the opportunity's there for Mecole. He's just got to grab it.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to a Juan Thornhill who didn't get to participate in the run last year because he got injured. I'm looking forward to how he performs in the playoffs because he's never been there before.
Yeah, he's another guy too. He's got a lot of pressure on him. I mean, 2 guys that are key, I think, in this situation: Juan Thornhill and also Charvarius Ward. Ward had such a great season last year, and he's had a pretty good season this year. But there have been some times, like the Vegas game in Kansas City, where he struggled a little bit. So he doesn't want to be the guy that's picked out because he said at the beginning of the year he wants to be a top shutdown corner in the league. Well, this is the part where they have the biggest eyeballs. This is the time to go prove it. And, he wants to be a shutdown corner. Go shut down some of those Browns receivers. Somebody go shut down Jarvis Landry. and again, that's where if you can do that, they have the pieces in place to defeat Cleveland. They just got to go out there and just, put it all together for 60 minutes, really. They have the pieces to beat Cleveland.
Yep, I definitely agree with you on that. So as we dive into the game a little bit, we already hit some keys on, who needs to show up and everything. Now, as far as the defense is concerned, do you see Frank Clark, who people have been critical of this year, people been kind of questioning like his Pro Bowl selection and all that, and question like what kind of year. Do you see Frank Clark getting back to form this postseason and kind of duplicate what he did last year or get close to the type of production he had last postseason?
He needs to, but the one good thing he's got going for him is that toward the end of last season was when he played his best football. And you've seen signs in the New Orleans game. You saw signs in the Atlanta game. Or not the Atlanta, not the Atlanta game, but the Tampa Bay game, New Orleans game.
Tampa,
yeah. You saw signs. Or actually, the Atlanta game. You did see signs that okay, maybe it's progressing. You just want to keep seeing that, upward track. And if he can do that, then that makes Chris Jones' life a lot easier where he can wreak some damage too. It may be a Tano Passanio's life or a Derek Notty's life, Treshaun Wharton, Mike Dan. I mean, there's been times that there were like you see a Mike Dan or Treshaun Wharton out there like, whoa, like these guys are actually like, hanging in there and producing, which I'm sure those guys, Frank Clark and Chris Jones, are very proud to see as veterans on the defensive line. But again, this is the time where we saw that when Frank Clark had the rest, he performed at his best. And he's one of those guys who probably needed rest. And now he can go out there full speed, because it's full speed for him now. And maybe he's one of those guys that kind of just needed the wake-up call at the playoffs to kind of just be like, okay, here I come. And here it is. Now, prove it on Sunday. Go out there and prove it. Prove that it's just kind of been a season where it's like, okay, a little bit under what I guess many thought were his expectations. But, prove that you were worth the money that the Chiefs invested in you to go out there and do something. So, I mean, because right now, I mean, his numbers, just frankly speaking, his numbers haven't been where I'm sure he wants it to be or where the team wants it to be. And now it's just, but if you go out there and you get 3-4 sacks or, 5-6 pressures, disrupt Baker Mayfield's timing out there on a consistent basis, then we won't remember the regular season. We'll just remember, hey, he made Baker Mayfield's life a living what on Sunday.
Right.
That's what matters the most.
Absolutely. Hey, Boogie, man, you've been quiet for a minute, man. You want to chime in on something real quick?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think Frank Clark the biggest. He got the extra week rest. It got to be him this week. He my player for the week. Chris Jones, he did what he was supposed to do this year at least. Frank Clark, it's time now. Like you said, they paid him that money. This time. Long as he have a good playoffs, I'm cool with the regular season. We won't even care about the regular season if he do what he did last year. So, it's time.
All right, cool. So now we don't get to the portion of the show where we usually make our predictions regarding every Chiefs game. Score prediction. I mean, I'm sure everybody's in agreement that the Chiefs gonna win the game. We're gonna do score prediction, offensive MVP, defensive MVP, and sleeper. So that's how we usually do it, Harold, with all the Chiefs games. So I'm gonna start with you, man. Score prediction.
I think I've been pretty consistent. I'm going 34-24 here, Kansas City. Offensive MVP, I'll try to name someone not named Patrick Mahomes, and I will go with Tyreek Hill. I think he's got a big mismatch there. And then defensively, I'll go with Tyrann Mathieu. I think he's going to get a pick. I think he'll make his presence known. I mean, just because he's out there in the secondary, he's been around. He's had a great nose for the ball this year, and good players make plays when they need it, and he seems to be that player that makes a player when it's needed most. I'd also look out for, obviously, I think Frank Clark, as we talked about, I think, this is a prove-it game for him, and go out there and dominate. But I think Tyrann Mathieu's the guy. I see a pick from him. I just see a team that's just coming out fresh, motivated. Andy Reid off of a bye, he's really good. I think he's only got like 3 losses all time after a bye. I mean, it's all set up for something where they can have a fantastic day. But my sleeper, and I talked about him earlier, I think Byron Pringle. I think a guy, he could be a sleeper. Maybe on special teams and impact there. Offensively, I think he's going to have some opportunities. He says when he gets the ball, he wants to do something with it. He wants to make the most out of his opportunity. I think we see that. And, he would be my kind of underestimated guy that you think out of nowhere, oh, wow, that was a Byron Pringle game. Or maybe not Byron Pringle, but it was like he had some plays in there. So he's my underrated guy. And another one to look out for, defensive side of the ball, underrated, I would say. I've already kind of said Anthony Hitchens, but, and Willie Gay, I mean, he wasn't at practice today, so we may not see much out of him. But maybe a guy like, Dirty Dan. Dirty Dan seems to show up in the postseason. So
yes,
maybe Dirty Dan shows up and does some stuff. Yeah.
All right. So Harold, you kind
We have
of
a saying on this show. We have a saying on the show that every time we write Dirty Dan off, he does something. So, so it's time for him. My mic messing up, so I'm gonna get mine out the way. Travis, on the defense, I think Frank Clark is just, it has to be Frank Clark. For the sleeper, I'm gonna keep on the Juan Thornhill, man. I think he should have a good game. And I don't do numbers, so it's a W. You know how I do, Chuck.
Yeah, we know, man. We know. All right, Boog, go ahead, man.
I'm gonna go 30. I'm gonna go 35-28. I'm gonna go Chiefs.
All right. You muted.
I already said Frank Clark, so I'm gonna go with Hitchens because I think Hitchens with this run defense, we're gonna need him this week with Hunt and Chubb. We're gonna need them all game. So I got him, my sleeper. Who am I gonna go with my sleeper? You said Dirty Dan and Pringle and McCall. We didn't touch everybody. Let's go Fenton on defense. We'll go Fenton on defense this week.
Sleep. All right. Cool, man. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna round it up then. I'm round it off then. Harold, you was kind of in my brain on a lot of these, man. I actually have the same score prediction, 34-24 Chiefs. And I had Tyreek as my offensive MVP as well. So nice. I'm with you on that for sure. Defense MVP, I'll probably say Tyron too, man. So you was in my brain on a lot of these. For my sleepers, I'm gonna go Mecole Hardman, man. Miko's been hearing the criticism a lot this season, and I think he's gonna step up big time in this game. And defensively, I think the defense is gonna focus on Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, of course. So we're gonna need this guy in the middle to do the dirty work down there and help stop the run. So, I mean, it's not gonna be Mike Pennell, but I think it's gonna be more Derek 90. I'm gonna go with Derek 90 as the sleeper on defense. So that's what I'm gonna roll.
I thought for a split second you was gonna say Ben Neiman, bro. I was.
Country, you something else, man. You something else, man. But real quick, man, just to wrap the show up for tonight, man. We did wild card predictions on the last episode. I know I was terrible. I think Country was the only one that went 500 out of everybody. So, Harold, I'm starting with you, man. We'll get to guess Bills and Ravens and Packers, Rams, and Saints and Bucks. Who you got in those?
I tell you, Buffalo-Baltimore is such a hard game to predict. I mean, you got Lamar Jackson already saying he doesn't want to play in snow. You know it's Buffalo. You know it's night. You know it's Saturday night. It's going to be cold. But they're a running football team, and that's what you do in the cold. And, I mean, I'll be real with you. When I watched Buffalo last week, I've unfortunately only watched 3 Buffalo games from beginning to end. And it was the Chiefs, the Titans, and then the Colts that I watched them live from beginning to end. Now I've watched some of them going back, but I mean, and then the Pittsburgh game, where they looked pretty impressive against Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh kind of just was going downhill after they lost to Washington. But I've just, I see a guy in Josh Allen that plays great. I see Stephon Diggs that plays great, but I just don't see a lot else. And Man, I think I'm going Baltimore on the road in an upset. I am. I think I am. I'm not sure about it, but I mean, if I had to press a button on it, I'm going Baltimore. I don't know. I just think, and it's not like Baltimore's heck of impressive against Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee's defense played as best as they possibly could because they haven't played really good all year. But I mean, they shut down Derrick Henry, and they can get out there and kind of shut down. They can find a way to shut down Diggs. Maybe Marcus Peters goes out there and finds a way to do something. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the way Baltimore's playing right now, and I go Baltimore. Maybe I just want to see Lamar Jackson succeed in life, but I go Baltimore. NFC side, I think Packers roll. I think the Packers roll, and the AARP Bowl with Brady and Breeze. I'll go with the home team. I'll go with New Orleans. I'll go with my mom's favorite team. I'll go with the Saints. There.
All right, cool. Well, Country, you next up, man. What you got?
He made such a compelling argument for Baltimore. I think I might go there too. Definitely the Packers and definitely the Saints. So I'm going pretty much chalk for the weekend.
Okay.
Except for Baltimore.
Yeah. Okay, Bug, you up, man. You muted, fam. You still muted, bro. Yeah, so hop out and come back in, bro. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to go in, while Boogie get this sound situated. All right, so I'm right with you, Harold, man. Like, when I heard Lamar Jackson's comments about playing the snow, it was disappointing. I said, Lamar, why are you doing this, bro? Why are you doing this, man? Like, come on, you're killing me. But like you said, in the snow, you run the ball. And Baltimore definitely has the running game. So it's going to be a combination of Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus the Bus, of course. Then, Ingram, he might get in there. You never know. I think Baltimore's going to pound it, ground and pound. And you see last week, Buffalo really got dominated in that game. Like, the Colts was winning in the trenches on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. It's just that the Colts they dumb coaching decisions what cost them for sure. Because I believe the Chiefs are really playing the Colts this week. But anyway, that's beside the point. The Bills, they're really weak against the run, and that's going to be a detriment to them, especially if they got to play in the snow. Like Josh Allen in the snow, I don't know. It's kind of a question mark. And Stephon Diggs, I mean, it'll basically be like his first time having to deal with the elements in the league, or first time dealing with them in a long time. So
I know Josh Allen dealt with snow because he played at Wyoming, so I think he's okay with snow. But
You're right. I forgot he did play in Wyoming. You're right. But at the end of the day, man, I think Baltimore just got enough, man. I've got them in the upset too, and they just a much better team on the road, in my opinion, in comparison to home. So I'm gonna roll Baltimore. Green Bay and the Rams. Both of you, I know y'all saying that Green Bay's gonna wrap the Rams. I think it's gonna be a closer game than what people think. But the Packers, they should still win the game. I think the Rams defense is gonna show up for like at least a half or so, and then the Packers, they just gonna turn it on late. Aaron Jones probably wear him down, and Devontae Adams, he's gonna do what he does. He'll score this game. So I got Green Bay in that one. And as far as the Saints and Bucks, man, it's hard. It's really hard to beat a team three times in one season. I'm not saying it's never been done. I know somebody brought up Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville beat somebody three times in 1 year. I can't remember the opponent. Or
it was Tennessee.
Tennessee. You're right. Tennessee.
Jacksonville was 14-2. Their two losses were to Tennessee. They played in the AFC Championship game, and then Tennessee won in the AFC Championship.
You're right. So with that being said, man, I have a hard time believing that Tampa Bay is just gonna get owned by the Saints like that. I think Tom is gonna shock folks. I think they're gonna show up this time, man. They've had this game marked down for a minute, or they had this opponent marked down for a while now. They remember both of those games and how bad they look. So I think Tampa is gonna get things corrected this time, and they should beat New Orleans in New Orleans. So I got Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is they don't have to worry about the dome being the dome. So I can see Tampa Bay win. I mean, they're playing better. They are playing a lot better. That Saints defense is no joke. They'll hurt you.
It's no joke at all. But you also got to remember, Tampa, they get Devin White back this week. That's pretty crucial for their defense.
Yeah.
All right, Bug, you got your sound right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. I got Buffalo pulling it off this week. I think they're gonna be that feel-good story. I think Josh Allen gonna take that step this year. We're gonna put him up there with Watson and Lamar and all them, all around as a quarterback. I think that Rams and Packers game is gonna be close. I do, but I think Goff probably make a couple mistakes. And A-Rod do what he do. So I got Packers in that, and I got Tampa. I think Tampa gonna win comfortably this week.
Woohoo, man!
Yeah,
comfortably. Woohoo!
yeah. AB, remember that was his first game when he played Saints first time, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
They gonna be ready. Mike Evans, they got the whole squad. They gonna be cool.
Cool.
AB's really showed out recently. He's really gotten it together, and good on him. I mean, now granted, Tom Brady's essentially been like, I hate to put it this way, but he's kind of been his guardian angel, kind of holding his hand along this whole thing, But hey, if that's what he needs, that's what he needs, And Tom Brady. The best part about Brady and Breeze, they're winners. That's what they do, and you like to see winners playing each other in a one-off situation. And, there's a lot of along here for both of those guys. I mean, Breeze could be looking at the end. Brady doesn't think he's looking at the end, but he has to prove that he can kind of have some duration at the end of the year. I mean, you can make an argument for Tampa. I just like that Saints defense. I really do.
Yeah. Now, I want to do a little sidebar real quick. You are from New Orleans area, right?
My mom is.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna ask you this anyway. I think you've seen the news that Drew Brees, this could be his last postseason. So what do you think about the Saints quarterback situation moving forward? I mean, they already got, I think they got 15, 16 million tied to Taysom Hill. And then I don't know if James is coming back. So what do you think about the Saints quarterback future moving forward? Is it going to be Taysom, or do they look somewhere in the draft or free agency?
Man, I think what we're looking at is they begged Breeze to come back. And if he's just beyond begging, then you've got Jameis Winston, who's been in the kind of the learn under Drew Brees program, stash and learn, a la Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. Or do you stick with Taysom? But I mean, I personally haven't seen nothing out of Taysom that makes me think, okay, he's going to be the guy going forward for this team. That's just me, as a starter. So, maybe they've just been holding Jameis for a year and they're like, okay, he's learned and now go. It's your team now. So, yeah, they got an interesting situation down there with, but I think they begged Drew first. I think that's their first move. They begged Drew.
All right. Well, so with that being said, I mean, that's going to wrap up the show for tonight. Harold, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. It's much appreciated.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll love to have you back at some point. And of course, we're going to be tuning into your coverage this week as well as we get ready for playoff week.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Yeah, pregame show 12 to 1. And then, obviously the game loves some postgame stuff on foxsportkc.com. So check it out.
All right, man. And you got anything else you want to plug?
Social media is Harold Kuntz 3. I am the third. And, the R is for Reginald. That's my middle initial. And, just look around and, usually it's just, I just try to keep up with this Chiefs postseason run as best as I can. So, that we go from there. And, if you guys ever hear anything, holler at me and we'll try to get that story out there to the public.
Yeah, most definitely, Harold. We'll definitely keep in contact, man. Once again, thank you for coming on. Fellas, you got anything else? You got anything y'all want to say?
Appreciate it, Harold.
Let's come home with a W. That's all that matters, baby.
So
Yeah. On to the AFC Championship we go, man. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody for tuning into another episode of Kingdom Cast. Don't forget to share on all your social media platforms. We are out of here.
Peace.